Welcome to another episode of the Third Channel Home of Horror. I'm Brian, along with my good friend Dave Brown. On this episode, we have a very special guest. In her first big on-screen role, she wore brown undies, and 7 months later, she bought edible ones. She then went from the big screen to the small screen on the soap opera Loving. She's a wife, mother, podcaster, and can currently be seen in the latest independent slasher film In a Violent Nature, everyone's favorite, not the final girl, Lauren Marie Taylor. Hey, Lauren.
Woohoo! Hey guys, thank you. I miss seeing you in person. It's so
Yes.
weird because it's not even COVID. We just haven't seen each other.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. So, Lauren, we're really excited to have you on the Third Channel. We've actually only been doing this for about a year because we took a hiatus for a long time. Life gets in the way and what have you. So we've kind of reanimated the Third Channel to do podcasts, and we basically, talk about horror movies and get into the niche of all of it. And mostly, a lot of it is around Friday the 13th, it seems at times. But a little bit about us, I think we go officially back three. It's only been 3 years where I met you, Bill, and then Ron, who was in his name was Jason. You guys came to my premiere with the help of Stacy and Chris. Thanks. We can't leave them out. And since then, we've met at a multiple horror conventions and sideshow events. I think a year ago, was it Brian that we met her where I dressed up as Crazy Ralph and she helped you out?
That was either a year. Yeah, it was a year ago, I believe. A very windy October or November weekend.
Yeah. It was, and then it started storming, right?
I think it might have later on that day. We had raised money for Susan G. Komen, which you were gracious enough to help me with the photo ops, and that was Dave's first time as Crazy Ralph.
That was a great event. It was. I remember it was unusually hot too.
No, it was warmer, but I just remember it being windy. So
So Dave, I wore this sweatshirt not just because our air conditioning was way up too high while we weren't home today, but I wore this sweatshirt that I got from Body Count Clothing specifically for you. So.
Oh, nice.
You're all doomed. And it says it on the back too.
It's funny, that Crazy Ralph costume I put together in 2 weeks from items off of eBay. I think the hardest. Yeah, it was all eBay found items. And it's the most comfortable cosplay that I've ever worn and the most loved. I mean, I wore it to camp that time and I had that photo op with all users. And I was like, is this all it took? It would be great.
It was a great costume. And I don't know how you pull it off because, you don't, my daughter's vacuuming upstairs, so I have to apologize for the noise.
Oh, we didn't even hear it.
Usually it's the dog's barking. Oh, okay. But it was you do it so convincingly, including with the body language. And it's like you too, Brian. It's about the body language as when you do your cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you guys pull it off. And I'm always just so enamored, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of old nerds that dress up.
So thank you for doing it.
Yeah, and speaking of Crazy Ralph, when Dave and I were at camp last year, we were, they're very big on no cosplay. But Dave, they won't. I mean, they won't let. Yeah, I mean, we figured with Dave's costume, it won't be that bad because it's everyday clothing. So we were just skeptical if anyone was going to say anything, but no one said anything. In fact, I think one of the volunteers got, when he was riding down the path with the state trooper, he's like on the state trooper's PA system, we're looking for the town drunk. Is there a Ralph around? He was a big hit. I mean, they should have had him stand by the bicycle and taking pictures with the people who wanted to get a photo with the bikes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a lot of fun. And to have all you guys at one time together like that, that was mind blowing. I mean, that's why I jumped on board. It's like, I've got to be part of that.
Yeah, the group photo around the campfire was well worth the admission. And then I paid for John Fury's monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was great. And he kept giving me eye contact, and I was like a giddy little schoolgirl. Yeah.
He was just more concerned about remembering it all.
Well, he did a great. It's like as if he filmed it the day before. Like he didn't lose a beat.
Yeah, some things you just don't forget. You don't forget huge portions of the monologue because they're just because you spend so much time with them, they're just such in your life
Hmm.
that it's like a song, you just don't let it go. And you can hear a song after not hearing it for 10 years and remember the lyrics
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it was such a part of your life. That's how that monologue is for
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Right. So with that being said, after you being part of the camp tour, I don't know how many of those have you done? Was that your first one?
No, it was our second. Bill and I
Or
did
second
a
one?
mini one, the summer of COVID. Uh,
Gotcha.
and we just kind of jumped on the back of those, golf carts that they had, and people were
Right.
like, "Whoa, wait, whoa, whoa, what's going on here?" And that was kind of fun.
I mean, how cool would it have been? Like, I mean, the camp isn't there, but the similarity of having an event like that at the old Packanack Lodge, wouldn't that been amazing?
That would have been so cool. I would hire a lifeguard so that people could go swimming in the lake.
Yeah.
Ah, it would have been so much fun. Imagine a photo op like
Oh
at the
my
lake.
God.
With
Yeah.
a lifeguard stand, a photo op like that in our bathing suits. Well, maybe not, but you know what I mean. Although I wear the brown undies in photo ops, so I guess
Yes, you do. And
I
I
could wear a
do. I do
bathing
have
suit.
that photo somewhere.
That's right.
And it was Stacy's idea to smack you with my Camp Crystal Lake sign.
I'll thank her once again.
So, not too long after Camp Tour from last year, and we're going to get into your podcast in a second, you had Robbie Morgan on, and you asked her what was the weirdest thing a fan had her sign. She had mentioned recently a fan had her sign the sheath of the same type of knife that Betsy Palmer used. On the sheath, the fan had her inscribed "My Demise." I'm not sure if I told you this, but that fan was Dave Brown.
No, it wasn't. I didn't know that. No, this is a complete
Yeah,
surprise. Oh my gosh,
I
I
was
love it.
cringing. I was cringing the whole time because I was dressed as Ralph, and it's not but I have Pam's knife, the same knife, and God bless her soul, rest her soul. I couldn't get Betsy to sign it, obviously. So I said, who would be the next person? I said, well, Robbie.
Yeah.
It was the knife that killed her. So I walk up to her with this knife. I left the knife out of the sheath. I just had the sheath, and I said, Robbie, I would love for you to sign this for me. And she's looking at it. I said, this is the sheath, the knife that goes in it is in my car that Pamela killed you with. And she just looked up at me. She goes, okay. And she didn't seem it didn't seem out of the ordinary. But when I look at the photograph because I'm in Crazy Ralph attire and I'm with her like this, there is a kind of a gap and a standoff, moment. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not that crazy. I'm not that type of guy. But I guess if you never met me or you don't know who I am, it might come off a little odd. But that was funny because I was listening to your podcast when she brought that up. I'm like, holy shit, that was me.
I love it. That was great.
All right. So, yeah, so let's talk about your podcast. If I can find my question.
Yeah, it is on hiatus. I will say that. I mean, anybody who follows me on Instagram knows that I've been taking care of my mother for a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah,
years,
yeah.
and she just passed away. And the past year has been really intense. So
Makes
it's been on
sense.
hiatus since I would say December. So I'm hoping to get back to it. I
Mhm.
actually have two in the can that I have not had when you're in the trenches like that, you're not yourself. So I
So,
haven't had
yeah.
the
It's
self
understandable. Yeah.
awareness to edit those yet, but I'm hoping that it'll start up again. Yeah,
So
once the dust settles.
how excuse me, how did the idea for the podcast develop? Was it as you being on a bunch of different podcasts and you're like, you know what, I like this. I want to do take my own take on it. How did you come up with the idea?
A friend of mine suggested it to me. She said, what would be really fun? Because she knows I listen to a lot of podcasts, mostly, movies and, of
Mhm.
course, true crime.
Mm-hmm.
So, make me nice and paranoid every day of my life. And she said, you should do a podcast. I said, what about? She goes, well, you could interview, people and all that. And I said, and I sat on it though. She told me this like a few years ago, and I sat on it for a while because I was just like, oh, I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. And she goes, well, you did host a TV show on
Right.
Lifetime. You did do live hosting for morning shows, all over the country. She goes, you do know how to ask questions and make them your own. I was like, yeah, I guess. And I said, but what would I call it? She goes, I don't know, so we just started talking. I went, well, I guess I could do a play on not being a final girl. And she went, that's it, the Not the Final Girl podcast.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny. I have I live in Brooklyn and I travel an hour and 10 minutes to Long Island every day back and forth. And it's the one thing on Spotify that I go on to and I listen to. And you are very good at what you do. I will say that. I mean, you're fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're great to listen to.
Wow.
And the guests that you've had have been pretty phenomenal. I've enjoyed every one of them.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I had a rocky start because I had to find how the format was going to be. And then we went through a period where they were doing work on our fiber optics here, and I was losing my internet. It happened with Vincent DeSanti, and it was so frustrating to lose internet access when you're in the middle of a conversation, and then your computer breaks down, and then your sound. So you guys know there's so much that goes into it, and it's our music, it's my husband's music that's in it, and I do all the editing. So it's just like 2 hours of a chit chat. Because a lot of times when I speak with people, it's people that I know too. So we tend to go above and beyond. So there's so much material.
That keeps it organic, which I love about podcasts when it's not so scripted, and you learn the little tidbits about people like, oh shit, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned you like true crime podcasts. Who do you listen to?
Well, of course, I listen to the King, Keith Morrison. Dateline. But I know they're very popular. My favorite one is Morbid.
Okay.
I listen to Morbid, and then there's serial killers. I mean, it's just the list goes on.
It's in your DNA. It's in your DNA. You can't help it.
I know. I trained our border collie a few years ago, and I listened to this podcast called the Puppy Podcast.
Okay.
And she's really good. She's excellent. And she has like hundreds of episodes. And we're getting a puppy next weekend. So I'm re-listening because, it's like, it's like when you have kids. Well, no, you don't know because you haven't given birth. But it's like when you have kids. You have the first one, you go, I'll never do that again. Oh my God, that's pain. And then you go, oh, let's have another baby. And then you're in labor and you're like, oh crap, I forgot about the pain.
I'll send you.
I forgot about the crap on the floor with the puppy.
When we're done later on tonight, I'll send you links of 2 podcasts that I listen to. One is Hollywood Crime Scene, and they talk about like true crimes, Hollywood scandals. 2 girls out in California. One of them, her grandfather actually used to work for Paramount, like during like the 40s or 50s. And there's another one, it's a really good one. It's called Last Podcast on the Left. And they talk about true crime, paranormal. They're really good.
I've heard of that one.
Okay, they're really good. But Hollywood Crime Scene, like I've been listening to them for about 3 or 4 years now. They're really good.
Yeah, Murder in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave? Do you listen to podcasts when you're driving your hour and 10 minutes?
I'm more of a music guy. Like I said, I'll throw yours in and then I'll listen to my own to critique myself. And I'll be like, and Brian thinks, wow, we're getting a lot of views. Brian, that's me watching our own goddamn podcast.
I never listen. I listened to mine once, maybe twice through, but that's before I publish it. And then then once it's published, I'll listen and I'll go, oh crap, I forgot to put the music in, and I'll go back and pull it off the
That's why I try not to make the same mistakes, but I'm like, God, why did I say that? Why am I always touching myself? Why am I playing with my ear? I fidget quite a bit, and but yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm a music guy. I listen to a lot of yacht rock, from the 70s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I listen to classic rock, 104.3.
Yeah, but you know what though? Now they're like classic rock, like we'll say Journey, Aerosmith. Now classic rock is music that came out in the 90s.
Yeah, no, it's not. Right. That ain't classic, baby.
Well, I know, but that's how they're defining it now. I just saw a thing where they said like the Wonder Years came out in 1988, and it takes place 20 years before. If that was to come out today, it'd be 2003. I'm like, man,
Oh,
so
weird.
all right. So now we're going to talk about you know your latest movie, independent, produced by
Yeah.
Shudder, In a Violent Nature. Now it's been out for about a month. It's going to be coming out and streaming soon. If you
Mhm.
haven't seen it yet, what are you waiting for? We might have a little bit of spoilers, but we got to talk about these things. We're not going to give away a lot, but I was
Yeah.
waiting for you to come on, and when I finally saw you, I was like biting my nails. So, just like when the original trailer came out and they had your voiceover,
Yes.
I automatically thought you were going to be like the woman in the woods, like the one warning people. And then it was total what I was thinking,
Uh-huh.
But then you're seeing, I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right.
First off, let me just say, it's a fantastic film. I
Thank
mean,
you. Yeah.
I went in, as a guy that does a fan film indie myself, and along with Brian, we did a little film together as well. I went in with open heart and open mind and expectation. I thought it was done really, really well in the sense it was an indie, almost like an art film at times,
Yes. Yeah.
and and I embraced all that.
Mhm.
And the only thing that I missed was a low hum music
Yeah.
of when he was walking through the woods. And I understand why Mr. Nash did this, because it was through the eyes of the killer, and you wanted to hear the nature and that part of it. And then when I thought about it, and I saw it in the theater, obviously, I'll see it again on Shudder. I'll probably appreciate it even more because I've been thinking about it a lot since then. But it's really a great play on 80s genre, but fresh and new in a way that I can really appreciate, because I'm a huge fan of A24 films. I'm not sure if you follow a lot of those A24 horror films, but it's almost approached like an art-esque horror film, and that's what I really appreciated about it.
Yeah, I mean, the New York Times, I don't know if you saw it because, you guys are local to me.
Yeah.
The New York Times, when I forgot if I don't think somebody sent it to me because I get it online, and I'm online and I'm on my email and I go, oh, movie reviews, Friday movie reviews. And I went, oh, I thought they're probably not going to bother because it's horror and,
Right.
it's indie horror. But
Yeah.
because it went to Sundance, maybe they'll talk about it a little bit and, just whatever, do their, dismissive thing that the New York Times likes to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went into the email and it said it was the pick of the week.
Mm.
And I just went, it's the pick of the week. It's what? Huh? What? I couldn't believe it. I was totally floored by that. It's like when it was going to Sundance, Chris Nash, the director, sent me a message on Instagram. He goes, I misplaced your phone number. I'm really bad with paperwork. I can't find your phone number anywhere. What is it? So I thought, oh crap, he's gonna call me and tell me that he cut me out of the movie. So I answer the phone, like, mild trepidation, major trepidation. And I said, hey, Chris, what's up? And he says, well, it's not set in stone yet because they haven't announced the finalists. He said, but we might be going to Sundance. I almost dropped the phone.
That's sweet.
I went, wait, our movie? And he went, yeah. I went, wait, what did you do to it? What? Because I didn't know, because I only came in at the end.
Right.
And it was also the end of filming.
Right.
So it's not like I was, there for a month or 8 weeks or whatever.
Right.
I came in towards the very end. And I was completely, and I told him, I said, I thought you were going to tell me you cut me out of the movie. He goes, no. Everybody who's seen it has huge praise for you. And I went, me? Little old me? So it was really cool.
That's cool. So that brings me to my next question is, how did the project come to you? And were you told that it was a Friday-esque film? Because come on, let's be real. The writing is on the wall here,
Well, I think a lot of modern horror, if you come out of the 80s, a lot of modern horror or recent horror, I should say, does pull from the big ones of the past, whether it's The Exorcist, obviously Halloween's, Friday the 13th,
Right.
the franchise and everything, even
Foundation.
Yeah. So so they're out there. So a lot of people pull from it. But how it came to me, they didn't present it as a Friday the 13th type. They said it was like a retro, like an homage to those slashers.
I like that. Homage is nice.
Yeah, and it came to me because another actor, it fell through, and they asked my rep. They said, Laura Marine, and she was like, well, she's really good at memorizing stuff because she was on a soap opera for 13 years, and when she told me, I said, but that was a really long time ago. And she goes, well, they're going to send you the script, read it and see what you think. And I'm reading, I'm going, oh my God, all these kills, and I don't want to give anything away, but there's that one kill in particular. I thought, okay, they're going to kill, but how are they going to do this? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I get to the woman part, and it's just like page after page of dialogue. And I'm just going, so when we did the interview on the Zoom, because they're up in Northwest Canada, so I did the Zoom audition and interview. When they got back to me and said, yes, the part's yours, I said, quick question. I said, are you going to have cue cards on the hood of the truck? And he said, no. And I said, okay. And I've got how many weeks to memorize all that with my old ass brain?
Yeah.
Because that was about like to me, it felt like a 10-minute scene.
It is. It's I think 13 minutes.
Okay.
Thereabouts. Yeah.
How many takes did it take?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. So I get there, and of course, when they said, "Oh yeah, we're in Toronto," I'm going, "Oh, we're in Toronto, right outside of Buffalo." So I stayed with my son and his wife the first night, and I figured the next day I would just continue driving, right? So I'm doing the GPS before I leave New York, not Buffalo, but where I am in New York, downstate. And I'm going, wait, where's Sault Ste. Marie? I thought they said Toronto. And I didn't realize that how Canada is made up of provinces and stuff like that. And then I went, it's going to take me 2 more days to get there.
So wait, they didn't fly you out? You drove?
Well, because when they said Toronto, I said, road trip. You know me with road trips. I'm like, I'm driving, baby. And they're like, you're going to drive. And I said, yeah. I said, I'll stay in Buffalo. I'll give myself an extra day for sightseeing when I get there. I'm going to be in Toronto, baby. Yeah.
Wow.
So then it was too late, for me to back out of it. And I thought, you know what? Suck it up. So what I did is I recorded the whole dialogue, the monologue, basically, because she only has a few lines in between there. I recorded it, and I just continued to go through it while I was driving.
Beautiful. That's smart.
Make a mistake, rewind it to the beginning and do the whole ass thing over again.
Wow.
So anyway, so that's how it fell into my lap.
So how long was that drive?
Okay, so it's 6 hours to Buffalo from where I live.
Yeah.
Then I stayed in this little town called Sudbury, somewhere in Canada. That was another 6 hours. Oh. And then it was 6 more hours to get to Sault Ste. Marie.
Like driving to Florida. Like driving to Florida from New York.
I was nuts. So then what happened is on the way back, I went, okay, you're not stopping here. You're not sightseeing there. You're just going to drive straight through.
Wow.
So I drove straight through to Buffalo.
Did you have a co-pilot? Were you by yourself?
I was by myself.
Oh.
With my podcast.
Wow.
Playing the experience in my head. So when we wound up doing it, you asked if we did a lot of takes. What happened was the first day I was the truck that I was driving was being pulled with a flatbed.
And I was going to ask that. Yeah. Okay.
It was too noisy. So the next day, and then Chris had to really adjust my performance because I'm very animated,
Mhm.
and he's like, it's not that kind of movie. Because I mean, if I'm talking about gore and guts, I'm gonna do very New York gore and guts.
Yeah, yeah,
Got a goddamn bear on his back.
yeah.
Uh-uh. So that night we had a long conversation. I had to do the monologue with him in our hotel rooms,
Right.
and he pulled back my performance. And then the next day, he came to me, kind of shuffling the poop a little bit as he was walking, right? And he said, um, okay, so it was too loud with the flatbed.
Right.
He goes, are you okay driving with a camera on the hood of the
Oh,
truck? And I just, being from New York and being an actor and taking a lot of dares, I mean, I do that brown panty photo op. I just went, no problem. So we had the camera on the front, and I'm driving and delivering this monologue. So when you see me looking back at the road, it's
Mhm.
because I'm driving on a
Okay.
real road.
Right. But
Okay.
it looked like there wasn't a lot of traffic on that road. It looked like a fire road or a backwood road.
Well, it's Sault Ste. Marie. Everything is backwoods there.
All right, all right, all right.
But I will say we had to redo like edit and then start from, mid script because a
Right.
car would go by or another
Okay,
pickup truck would go by or somebody was behind us,
gotcha.
and
Now,
then we had to do the takes with the cameras on both sides. Then they had to change it. You can appreciate this as filmmakers. They had to change the lens.
Yep.
mhm.
So then
Right.
so the entire day from whatever time in the morning until right before sunset, I'm driving and delivering this monologue
Wow.
the whole time.
Wow.
After a 24-hour ride to get there, you had to drive more.
Now,
Oh my God. But the adrenaline rush
mhm.
is
Yeah.
what kept me going.
Well, you
How
made
many
it very.
potty breaks did you take driving up there from home?
Oh, I am a camel.
Okay.
I am known for being able to. Okay, quick story before I don't want to digress too much. So growing up with my grandparents, I can say so many things so differently now because my mother is no longer with us. So
Yeah,
she
yeah.
would listen to all the podcasts, and I'd have to be careful about how I would talk about my upbringing. So my grandparents raised us in the Bronx, very Catholic upbringing, right? Very Catholic. And she would say to me, Jesus is always watching you. So I wouldn't go to the bathroom.
Oh,
I'd like
geez.
hold everything in until my
Wow.
bladder was screaming at me. Ah! So I've trained my body to be able to go
Hold it.
long distances.
Wow. I
Now,
wish I could say that.
when you were filming your scenes, was the director or a second director in the back seat, like laying on the? No.
No, no.
Okay.
So I mean, sometimes we had somebody in there for some reason, which I don't remember because I was so tired, everything's a blur. Um, but we had walkie-talkies.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if I flubbed a line or if I wasn't, calm enough, because he's like, you have to play this scene as if this is something you see and hear about every single day. And when I saw the movie, when we were on Governor's Island, and it was an outdoor screening of it, when I saw the movie with Rye, who plays Johnny, and Andrea, who plays Chris, well, I was like, oh, that's why he changed my direction.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the tone of the movie is so atmospheric.
Yes, yes.
That to have when I speak slowly like that, I just kind of go into this natural lilt, if you will,
Yeah,
when I speak
yeah.
very slowly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, I didn't even know I was doing that. It was so
Well, no,
weird.
no pun taken, but it is second nature if you're living in that environment. And, it is your nature
Yeah.
to be part of that and, to regurgitate what you did. And when I watched it, I'm like, it was very fluid. It was very to the point and it was believable,
Oh, thank you. Good.
Yeah, because you have the most dialogue, I would have to say, in that film.
And the most character development because I'm all about, and so is Dave, character development, like in like movies. But this movie, there is none because it's from the point of the killer.
Yeah.
but you're the first person we really get to know. And I'm thinking you're a red herring. I'm thinking you're going to drive, we're going to have a little bit of spoilers, people. So I'm thinking you're just going to drive her back to the scene of the crime, like maybe you're a relative or something, but
you never know. I could be. If there's a
I was
sequel.
hoping you were going to be the next Pamela.
Well, originally, that's how I also played it too. Originally, I played the woman as being a little bit threatening, and he's like, no, 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 don't do that. No, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Left it open ended, and who knows where this could go.
I'm hoping. Yeah.
Me and Brian have dissected it and said in a last podcast, because we actually did a review on the film on where we could go or where we like to see it go as a trilogy story. And we're hoping that, when it hits Shudder, it gets a lot of, positive and great responses, and they'll say, hey, let's do another one,
Yeah. I mean, I see a prequel.
Yep,
and then I see, what happens to the final people also, and how they work that.
Because when the ranger said, like, he took care of him 10 years ago, I would like to see that kind of like maybe do an opening flashback of when, the guys played the prank on him, which led to the accident, and then jump to 10 years ago from the first one, and then maybe the third one could finish it out.
Yes, exactly. I like the idea of a trilogy. You should message him on Instagram about that.
The thing is, too, without me spoiling it, I have to say that I love the kills. The kills are what I like to see, and Hollywood should take note on what a Friday the 13th should do, because even though they're as brutal as they are methodical, and I feel like he thinks them out really well as a killer. And I'm like, very well planned. It's second nature to him in that sense. But like, wow, I was blown away, and that they were all practical effects. I think there was some CGI in some points. I was trying to figure it out, but man, those kills were mind blowing.
We went to see it, a group of us. This is kind of funny. So on a Friday night before the Friday night that it opened, we were at a little soiree with friends of ours, musicians and psychiatrists and yoga teachers, that type of crowd. Aging hippies. I'll put it that way. And our friend Jeremy was playing the piano at the end. He says, "Hey, everybody, in A Violent Nature, it got the Critics' Pick of the Week. Lauren's in it. Because they only see me as kind of like, ditzy Lauren, John's wife, and even though they're part of my friend group as well, I always present as being a little on the goofy side, and one of the couples looked at me, Steve and Cindy, and he said, wait, we already have tickets for that. You're in that? So then a group of us, all 8 of us, decided to go, which I posted that picture on Instagram, of all of us in front of the poster. And I was like, they have no idea what they're in for. And the poor women were sitting there like this. Oh,
yeah. Well, that's great, because you answered that question for me, because I was wondering what the theater experience was like. And it's great when you can have family support you in that way. That's fantastic,
It was hysterical. My younger daughter was in Ohio, in Cincinnati, the weekend it came out. And she went with, again, musician friend, one of her closest friends, and they went to see it. And they were like, dude, we'd see this again. And my son and his wife saw it on a Thursday night, at a preview. And they're like, what just happened? And my older daughter, they're huge horror fans. And but the funniest thing was my brother went to see Immaculate, right? He's a huge horror fan. And he goes, you don't have any idea how weird it is to watch a trailer for a horror movie and hear your sister's voice coming from the loudspeakers.
Yeah.
But they loved
it. Did you
it.
Bump the next guy and go, that's my sister-in-law?
yeah, right. Yeah, they kind of did.
Yeah, I saw it. There was only 2 theaters playing by me. One's literally up the street, but parking is horrible. So thankfully, an AMC was playing it, and they actually did a very quiet Wednesday night sneak preview, and the theater it's at 100, and there was probably 75 people in there. So
we had a sold out crowd up across the pond in Westchester. There's one of those dine-in things like Roadhouse or something like that. they were sold out.
That's
Because I was
and
like,
that's
oh, I'll go to that, and it was sold out. I was like, oh, I'm
it's
getting
great to see that because I'm just so tired of Hollywood horror movies. They're just a big letdown to me. And it's
Yeah.
and indies where it's at right now. And I hope it continues to have this
Yeah,
effect,
yeah.
and
I think a lot of it is there's never enough meat and potatoes behind a horror film. It's very predictable. And I think with An Inviolate Nature, you get a little bit more substance in the sense of, seeing it through the killer's eyes, which has never really been done,
Yeah.
which is really, and I got to say, he filmed this so beautifully. Like cinematography wise, like
Absolutely.
I was intrigued by just like the little things, like seeing that dead animal in the trap and the greenery and when I don't want to get into the kills,
But
but
the mist on the lake,
Mhm.
everything. Yeah, the mist. And
really
And
that's
then-
well.
all real.
and then we were, we got to see Jason, not Jason,
Johnny.
Johnny.
Another J name.
Yeah,
Freudian
you got to
slip.
see a softer side of him when he picks up the keychain with the car.
Yeah.
He still has that childlike mentality. And I was shocked that you actually saw what he looked like. I was like, wow, that's really, I mean, it looked great. Like
Yeah.
his clothing, like when I first saw the trailer and Dave saw it, I'm like, that looks like what you wore in His Name Was Jason, like the clothing,
Very
aside from the
very
mask. It's so similar. And actually, a buddy, the guy who does all my costumes, he wants to make a Johnny costume.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, the hardest part is the mask.
Yeah.
I found them like replicas online, but they just look really cheesy looking. But he said I might be able to work with it and rehaul it. And the clothing for him will be Dave could do it himself. It's really just the mask part, because those smoke masks go for thousands of dollars on eBay.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
yeah.
They're vintage.
And you mentioned Governor's Island, and Dave was going to go, but the tickets were sold out. How was that?
It was surreal. It was wild. I mean, it was misting a little bit, so it's kind of put a damper, pardon the fun, on but everybody was just to hear the audience react. And I had never seen it before, so it was my first time seeing it. And to hear the audience react, it was just, you just sit there. I was like a little girl.
Mhm.
I was like, and
Awesome.
and to hear them laugh when I said he had a goddamn bear on his back, and the whole place erupted in laughter. I was like, if I ever sign the poster for In a Violent Nature, that's going to be the quote that I put on the poster.
Are you gonna add that to your repertoire, like for 8x10, like you in the car or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I'll have one.
Yeah, you might, and you never know. This would also introduce a lot of younger horror fans to you as well, who may have not know that you were in Friday 13th Part 2 yet. So you might get a whole new following because of this.
Yeah.
Especially
the funny thing is, a friend of mine who lives in Toronto, but in the city of Toronto, not like all the way west. She sent me a link to her local newspaper. She said, "Lauren, they mentioned you specifically," and I thought that was kind of cool. I had a couple of those, and that was kind of cool. And I know there are critics out there who are just like, "Oh, it's too slow," or they didn't need the monologue at the end, whatever. But to each his. I always say to each his own.
Yeah, and that's the one gripe I have is a lot of the critics that I read in the Facebook groups. They're younger horror fans who all they care about is the gore porn. They want more kill.
Right.
Like they're not looking at, like, when me and Dave grew up, coming from the 70s and 80s. That's what we love. So, and this is next to Maxine and Violent Nature is like my top like 2 horror movies that I want to see this year. So did you bring your husband to Governor's Island?
Yes, I did. It was his birthday. I had to bring him.
Nice.
So he got to see the whole red carpet treatment type of thing, the photo ops, how many different photo ops that they ask you to do, with the different people. Oh, you're with them, you're with him, you're with her, you're with him. So it was one of those, like he's just watching. And then there was the preamble Q&A from the press. And then there was the post screening with the fans.
Right.
With questions from the fans. So he got to see all that because he doesn't go to conventions.
Right.
So he's never really seen all that. And he's just like, I don't know how you do that. And I'm like, you just do,
So
talk about something you're proud of.
that brings us to another question. I think this was Brian, but I'm going to steal it from him. It says, knowing that your husband is also an actor, is he a critiquer in any way when you present to him? Did you show him the script? Did you read it to him? I was wondering how you guys feed on one another with giving if he gives suggestions about the part, or do you not mix work and marriage together? I was wondering how that worked out for you guys.
No, he learned a long time ago when I was on the soap opera. If I want to run lines, you do not tell me what to do.
Gotcha.
You do not critique me because that's what the director is for. And you're going to put something in my brain that's going to stick with me because, oh, well, I did it this way. And my husband's like, oh, this might be better. And then I'm going to see the director and the director is going to say, both of you guys suck. So we when we run lines, I do a monotone voice.
Gotcha.
I don't do any emotion except when I talk about the bear on the back. But I just do it. I just want to do this. But he really didn't run a whole lot of lines with me because he knew it was a monologue. And I'm best if I do it on my own. Yeah.
So with the experiences of acting, let me ask you a quick question. Method acting. Do you run into method acting at all, or do you feel like you pretty much follow the script entirely and take that direction, or have you?
I really, well, and this comes from being on the soap opera for so long, is I put myself in those shoes.
I see.
You see what I mean? So, when I was Stacy for all those years, once I put those clothes on, it was like I was Stacy.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's not like you couldn't talk to me because I was in Stacy mode, but the crying that I did was real crying. You know what I mean? Because I was like, okay, this is what she's going through, and we are experiencing this together. So with the woman, when I'm talking about, her brother and all this stuff like that, I didn't think of my brother or anything like that. I just said, okay. So he gave me the backstory of the woman, and then I just put myself, I mean, those are my own clothes, but I put myself in her life, energies and her life experiences. And
I wonder what your style was when it came to that. And I'm always curious to know on how actors, portray and how they approach, Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I tried looking online, but I couldn't find the budget of the film. Do you by any chance know what the budget was?
I know it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
Because I know he reshot a lot of it because he wasn't happy with the dailies, and he recast a lot of people from the beginning.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can say that out loud because it's been told by the other people, the other actors have spoken about it. So I wasn't there for any of that, but I know they said things like, he spent his last dollar.
Well, he's making it back because opening weekend it made $2.1 million.
I know, and the budget was not $1 million. I know that.
Yeah. Well,
and again, a bare bone crew, and a lot of his friends and family were on the crew. So
okay, so
indie film.
Dave, do you have any other questions before the final? Well, we have we pretty much covered a lot of our questions because you went into the questions like you were like reading our minds. So we have like one.
Well, it's always natural talking to Lauren, and that's the first thing. Like since
thank you.
It's so funny. Like I forget you're one of my favorites from one of my favorite franchises. That when I get to talking to you, I'm like, oh my God, I just that's Lauren Marie Taylor from Friday the 13th Part 2. I like because I've forgotten that because I've gotten to know you as a person, but everything's always been so natural when we talk. It's pretty cool. I love it.
I know, and I'm like, oh my God, I got a screenwriter and I've got South Jersey Jason. Like, whoa.
So my final question. Recently, a couple weeks ago, you had shared Stephen King gave the movie a review.
I know.
And he loved it. What immediately went through your mind? The Master of Horror gave your film like such a great feedback.
The blood drained out of me because I was in such shock, and I just started yelling. I mean, you can ask anybody in the house. I went, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I went, oh shit, oh my God, like that. It was one of those moments. I had another moment like that though. Sean Fennessy and Amanda Dobbins host another couple of my favorite podcasts. The Big Picture. There's also the Rewatchables too, another podcast about movies. And I was listening to the post-Oscar thing that they were doing, and I thought, oh, okay, because then the second half sometimes they interview people, and sometimes I'm interested in the interview, sometimes I'm not. He goes, oh, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Sundance, and I went, I'll just bag it. And he goes, he goes, don't get mad at me, Amanda. He goes, but I want to talk about this one movie, and I think you know which one I'm going to talk about because you know I love horror, and I'm driving, and I went, no way. There's no way he's going to mention my film. Sean Fennessy, Amanda Dobbins, the Big Picture podcast. There's no way. And he said, In a Violent Nature. I was driving and I almost went into a pole. I mean, I put it on pause. I put my phone on. I did a voice text to my husband. I went, I mean, he's like, he wrote back, he goes, will you reread what you wrote to me? Because you don't make any sense.
Doesn't make sense. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. So that was funny.
Well, yes. It's a fantastic film. And I think with everything that's come out in the past 3 to 5 years in horror, whether it's been a reboot or a prequel to something that we didn't need to know about, I think it's fresh, it's new, it's exciting, and that anybody that loves a movie of the 80s, genre, this is something that you can go and see and appreciate,
Yeah, yeah. And just so the fans understand, the wardrobe that I was wearing in A Violent Nature was all my own clothes. And just to bring a little bit of, what they say when you get married, you should have something old, something new. Yeah, I was wearing the brown undies underneath it all.
Nice.
Hey, you know what? I hate to say it, and I don't mean to be crude, but they'll go for big bucks.
I have signed a few.
Oh God, that's funny. That's funny.
They're my good luck charm, sort of.
Well, I lost my words. They did really good for you. So yeah. No, not at all. But yeah, I'm hoping it gets a physical release because, a lot of things are now streaming and it took Prey, which was a Predator movie that came out on Hulu almost a year and a half to get a physical copy because the fans wanted it. So I'm kind of hoping this will get a physical release, down the line. So I would love to add it to my collection, even though I do have Shudder. I mean, Shudder's just knocking it out of the park with their movies, and I hope they continue to have the success. Mm-hmm. So Lauren, before we close it up with you, do you have any upcoming appearances that you want to plug? Nothing? You're gonna take some time off, or yeah?
I do have a Christmas movie coming out, though.
Oh, do you? Yeah, are you going to be a Hallmark Christmas movie person now?
No, it's a British horror movie. It's with Caroline Williams.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I've heard about this, Brian. I've heard about it.
Okay.
Yeah, He Knows When You're Sleeping, and that will be on DVD.
Well, now that it's in England, you didn't take a sailboat over, did you?
No, they came here. They filmed it a little bit upstate, about 45 minutes south of Buffalo.
Oh, nice.
And it's a nice little part. It's not, a big part or anything but it's a nice little part. I play the mom of a girl, and I won't say whether she's a final girl or not. So I'm a mom in it, of course. And it's cool. The Dark Temple Pictures.
And what's the name of it again? I'm sorry.
He Knows When You're Sleeping.
All right, sounds good. Yeah. I'm interested.
So it's going to be part of a film festival.
Okay.
Again, on my birthday on November 1st, so I have to renew my passport because we're planning on going over there for the screening of it.
Who knows? It might get picked up by Tubi. Tubi, I love Tubi for horror. I don't know if you're familiar with Tubi.
Yeah, I know Tubi. Yeah, yep.
So they're picking up a lot of great indie films, and you said it's going to right to video or Blu-ray. It may get picked up by one of these other, or Peacock or something. You never know.
Yeah, I think a couple of their movies are on Tubi. If you look them up online, it's Dark Temple Pictures, and they do have links to all their movies that are on Tubi. But they do tons that, they're outsourced to do, productions, and then other people buy them. It's interesting. I shouldn't really talk that much about it because I don't really know a lot about the production company. But
Right.
Charlie Steeds is a great director. The writer, David Lennox, is in the movie, and he's really sweet. I just had a great time with these guys, and
Nice.
it's something to look forward to. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
I'll look
supposed,
forward to that one for sure.
Well,
yeah,
next year is the 45th anniversary of the Friday franchise, and I
yeah,
know it was just announced. Tickets haven't gone on sale yet, but I can almost guarantee you will be in California
yeah,
next June, I think it is.
yeah. I think it's next
Yeah,
June. Yeah,
which I'm a little upset because I'm like, Jason's a East Coast boy. He should be on the East Coast because I don't know if I'll be able to make it. But it's really cool because you know what? It's about time Friday the 13th had its own convention, just like Halloween does, like every 5 years. Sean Clark
yes,
puts on the
yeah, they
Halloween
do.
one. So it's really cool that they're doing a Friday the 13th one. And I've
Well,
talked
maybe there'll
to,
be one on the East Coast.
I'm
Maybe
hoping,
somebody, one of the big ones will do it.
like have it
Yeah.
at the Javits Center or something, So.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
wow.
but I'm sure, we do have a Friday 13th in September. Maybe we'll see you at a convention somewhere in September.
Maybe there was some talk about one, but I haven't really
Well,
heard because they asked me,
Blairstown's
and
cooking something up. Blairstown's cooking something up again, right? Right?
oh,
Right?
they are.
Yeah. We got, Ari Lehman's going to be coming out. So yeah, he's going to be coming out and playing with his band. So it's going to
I
be
was
a
going to
fun
ask if he
time.
was going to be with his band.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So, he's bringing his hot sauce too, which I love his hot
Oh, that
sauce.
stuff is so hot.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
I
You can
It's
take
remember
the
really
paint off a
good.
car with that.
when I first met him back in 2019, it was in Blairstown. They were doing it was an opening of the museum the night before. I bought his hot sauce. I get back home to my hotel. It rolled off the bed onto the floor everywhere.
It ate the paint off the floor. Then
and
It
thankfully
would,
it
yeah.
wasn't carpeted floors, but it was hardwood. So as soon as it hit, it smashed everywhere.
Oh, that's a
So
drag.
yeah, but yeah, it's gonna be a good old time. But Lauren, I want to thank you for coming on. It's always a
Thanks for
pleasure
having
talking
me.
with you.
Yeah, thanks
yeah,
for having me, guys.
congratulations. I think once this hits Shutter, it's going to be blowing up. Just like what was the other movie we just watched that we liked?
Late Night
Brian.
with the Devil.
Yeah, that was
Have you
great.
watched that? Do you have
Oh,
Shudder?
yeah,
Have you seen that one yet? Late Night
I
with the
haven't
Devil.
seen it. It's on
It's
my list.
good. It's good.
Yeah,
Definitely take a
It's
watch
also a
it.
Shutter film, and if it does
yeah.
as well, I think this will be as because it blew up. It blew up Shutter, and I
Mm-hmm.
think The Violent Nature is going to do just as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I hope so. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, you want to take us out?
Yeah, we just want to say thank you, Laura Marie Taylor, for joining us and talking about In a Violent Nature. Kudos to making it big on back on the big screen again after how many years has it been, Lauren?
It's
Have you
been a
seen-
while.
It's
On
been
the
a
big
while.
screen, it's been since Neighbors and Girls Night Out. So 1982,
Oh, okay.
Neighbors
All right.
came out. Yeah.
So kudos to you. That's great. I mean, you're still a fresh face after all these years.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you for joining the third channel, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll have you on for the sequel because you got to be in it again. Come on now. And
Yeah.
and when we get off the air, I'll tell you how I planned out the sequel for you. Okay. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. And
Thank you.
Dave and I will be on again probably in a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll bring back To Boot or Not to Boot. So we'll talk to
Yeah.
everyone later.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.